Hello, you beautiful people. So, I'm just guessing here, but you probably saw Cipher's Drip Marketing, which was posted a few minutes ago. So now you're curious about her kit and her overall playstyle, right? Luckily for you, though, you've somehow managed to land on the literal perfect video to get that info. Today, I'm mainly going to go over Cipher's entire preliminary kit in detail, and along with this, we will also take a look at her release date, her overall playstyle, and her team synergies. Just want to say though, the info that I discuss in this video is based on some very early kit info and it's heavily subject to change, so do keep that in the back of your mind. Before we go on though, if you're planning to pull for any of the new characters, you might want to check out Lubar because on this site you can save up to a total of 23% on all your purchases. To give an example, I'll buy this 3280 Oniric Shard pack for $43 and this same pack costs me about $50 from the in-game shop. You can see that it's cheaper, right? The top-up process is honestly really easy as well because all you need to do is enter your UID in this box and choose your respective server depending on your account. After waiting for a few minutes, I received my Jades with the double top-up bonus because it was my first purchase and saved a decent amount of money. Other than HSR, you can top up on Genshin as well using Lubar, and both of these games have quite a lot of 5-star reviews. Lastly, if you use my link which is in the description or the pinned comment, you can get an extra 8% off on top of all the other discounts. Alright, with the sponsor done and the disclaimer already done, let's begin without wasting any more of your time or energy. Starting with the very basics, Cipher is going to be a quantum type unit who follows the path of nihility, and she is mainly going to play the role of a sub DPS on your team, while also having some really good main DPS capabilities. Honestly, Cipher may be one of the most interesting characters we've seen in a long time. As another follow-up character, we all know she'll probably end up being really strong and universal. But Cipher uniquely uses multiple new mechanics that we've never seen on a DPS character before, and her kit is one of the most interesting that we've had. Anyways, I'm really excited to talk about it all in this video, and seeing as we're done with the basics, let's move on and finally take a look at her detailed kit next. First of all, I know a lot of people want to know her release date, and if we go by the drip marketing order, she is going to be featured in the second half of the patch, and her banner will go live on June 11th for all the servers. Do keep in mind though that this estimation is totally based on the current patch schedule, and the release date might change if they make any changes in it. Next up, Cipher to me kind of seems like a more modern version of Topaz, taking a lot of her good qualities and applying them in different ways to keep her strong. As I said before, she's a follow-up DPS, so she will mostly be used in follow-up teams, and she brings a lot to the table, like tons of front-loaded damage, buffing, and of course, lots and lots of follow-up damage. Her talent, which is her debuff, similarly to Topaz, says that at the start of any ally's turn, Cipher will inflict her debuff onto a random enemy, prioritizing the one with the highest HP. Now, when a marked enemy takes damage, Cipher will go into an enhanced state and do a follow-up attack whenever a marked enemy is attacked by an ally. These follow-ups seem to be capped for now, as when an ally uses an ultimate, this resets the counter and lets her deal follow-ups again, working kind of like Tribi does. An important part about this debuff is that Cipher tracks all damage dealt to this enemy, and this will be useful for a later part of her kit, so make sure to remember this and keep it in the back of your mind. Moving on, her basic attack is pretty standard, dealing some quantum damage to a single enemy, and that's kind of it. Anyways, just like her basic attack, her skill is also pretty simple as well, as it just deals a small amount of quantum blast damage to all the enemies on field. Something really interesting about her skill is that it inflicts her debuff to whatever enemy she targets with it, making this her main way of changing which enemy has the debuff. So basically, her skill is a pretty important and crucial part of her kit overall. Lastly, her ultimate deals quantum damage to a single target, and you know how I mentioned her debuff tracks damage dealt to the enemy with the mark present? Well, when Cipher uses her ultimate, she deals true damage based on a percentage of the damage that was tracked, and then deals this damage as blast true damage to enemies. I have to say, this mechanic is really cool as it works a little like the Remembrance main character, basically dealing your damage a second time when you use them. All in all, this makes Cipher not only a great support, but it also makes her damage output really high, as if you play her on a team that deals a ton of damage, the true damage from her ultimate will scale appropriately, meaning she can deal insane amounts of AoE damage. With that, we're totally done with her base kit, and next up, let's quickly take a look at her traces before moving on to her light cone. So, her traces help enable her kit even more, as her first trace reduces all enemies' defense on the field by a percentage whenever Cipher is present. I think we can all agree that this is a great debuff to have permanently, increasing her buffing abilities for basically no drawback. I mean, we all already know that Defense Shred is a really great debuff to have, so this trace is overall really good. Her second trace is more focused on boosting her ultimate mechanic, as it additionally makes damage be counted from enemies adjacent to the debuffed target or the market target. Basically, this means that she can track AoE damage as well, increasing the amount of damage her ultimate can do and making her useful on non-single target teams as well. Finally, her third trace boosts her follow-up damage, helping Cipher enable her own personal damage outside of her ultimate. Additionally, this trace 3 increases the conversion rate of her damage stored into ultimate damage by Cipher's crit rate. I know that sentence probably didn't make much sense, but basically, the more crit rate she has, the better the conversion will be, so you should stack a lot of crit rate on her to deal maximum damage. Lastly, let's move on from all this and finally take a look at her light cone. Alright, so just like the rest of her kit, her light cone is really powerful as well. Firstly, it increases the wearer's crit rate, and as I said before, the more crit rate Cipher has, the better her ultimate damage will be. Additionally, when the wearer uses their skill to deal damage, the defense of the attacked enemy will be reduced by a certain amount, which is really nice. Honestly, this light cone is already really strong, but it only gets better because when the skill triggers a crit hit on the enemy, their defense is additionally reduced by a higher percentage. I think this light cone may be one of the strongest support light cones in the entire game that we have right now, having tons of defense shred for basically nothing. Anyways, to summarize it all, Cipher is going to be a really interesting follow-up character, filling many roles and seemingly excelling at all of them. Constant follow-ups is already a niche that will always be useful, but Cipher takes this to a new level with this new damage stored mechanic that she has on her ultimate and all the other crazy utility that she provides. With that though, we're totally done discussing Cipher's preliminary kit in detail, and I really hope you liked the video. Also, if you ended up watching until the end, you might want to consider subscribing as well. With that being said, I will see you in another one.